Hello. Thanks for dropping in. So what I'm going to do at this moment is look up here. Where is disk address change? So what this does is when I load it in and run it, it will temporarily, while the drive is on, change the device number of this drive from 8 to 9. Now you got to do this. I mean, you can do more than one at a time, but then they both end up. There's a disk in there. There is a disk in there. Okay, so now this is, by the way, this is how to copy an entire disk. I am going to put this drive on. Did I not plug it in? No, I guess I did not. That would make it difficult. I need more plugs. Okay. So now we have, this is drive 8, or device 8, device 9. We'll load the directory. And we will load copy all. Copy all. I hope they'll call it. Okay, so now we will clear the screen. And we will run. And we want to go, first of all, I want to make sure we have the disk that we want in the drive. Where is my envelope? If it's here. So I'm going to take this disk, which is from Ideal Software. I'm going to put it into this drive. And this disk, which is very blank, I'm going to put into this drive. 8, 9. Because it comes up and says from what unit, and I want to go to from 8, drive 0. There's only one drive, which is drive 0, so there's 0 drives. 9, 0. New the output disk. Yes. I'm going to call this Ideal Xmas X this, and then I'm going to put in an ID of ID. And now the disk will be formatted. While we're there, let us look further at the Commodore warranty card. I think in our last edition we did go through. Where were we? Commodore shall have no obligation to enhance or update any unit what's manufactured. And meaning, if there's some horrible thing that they've done that really needs chips to be changed or anything, they're not going to do it. I guess that would be kind of along the same lines of with the PET, when there was, basic 1, 2, whatever, 3, 4, all that. It was like, oh yeah, you got to do that. Anyway, Commodore is a trademark of Commodore Business Machines, 3470 Pharmacy Avenue, Agincourt, Ontario, M1W3G3, 416-499-4292. Of course, they're not there anymore. So here is the warranty card, which you would have to put a stamp on it. Here's the French side. To receive full warranty protection, you must return this registration card within 10 days after the date of purchase to Commodore, 3470 Pharmacy Avenue, Agincourt, Ontario, M1W3G3. Perch purchase, your address, your city, place of purchase, province, postal code, city, serial number, model. What is your primary use of computing interest? Self-teaching, education, recreation and hobby, business, telecommuting, / time sharing, engineering, and physics. Okay, we done? We are done. Okay, now I'm going to pick asterisk for the pattern. And now it is reading in the directory. Where are we? What two features attracted you? Low price, accessories, user friendliness, self-teaching materials, color graphics, software, sound, game size, expandability. How old are you? Under 15, 15 to 17, 18 to 21, 22 to 29, 30 to 49, over 50. How many people will use your computer? 1, 2, 3 to 9, 10 to 19, 20 plus. Where did you buy your Commodore product? Are we copying? Oh yes, if you see the little light, we are copying. Where did you buy your computer product? Computer store, department store, electronics store, audio video store, mail order, other. Specify. Of course, there's no real room to specify. Oh, you have a place for comments. I wonder, I guess they have somebody who looked through these things. Anyway, 90 sacred days. So that would be the time in that 90 days that if you needed to permanently have your disk drive as device 9 and you actually switched it, you would have violated the warranty. And at the beginning they didn't have them, but they did eventually have little stickers that went on that if there was a hole in the sticker, that meant that you had opened the machine and therefore violated the warranty. Now, mind you, as somebody who at one point had a Commodore store, I can tell you, if somebody showed up 91 days after they got it and something was wrong, we would take care of it. We would. So this, I would like to think, is copying. I hear the head moving. It is copying something called introduction, which I believe was a rather large file. I believe. And I did hear a head move. Uh-oh. Anyway, this is not the fastest thing in the world, believe me. It just isn't. I don't think even, well, I don't know if fast load makes it any better. I don't know. Oh, it's on to menu. Alright, so this is copying, and that is good. This is a good way. I mean, it's a good way to make it back. See, the thing I missed about the dual drives, of course, were that you could stick a disk in, and in very short order, you could have a copy of the whole disk. And it didn't do it file by file, although you could do it file by file. But it was just you issued the backup command, and it would copy the entire disk. Now, if you did the copy command, you would have to make sure that the disk was already formatted, but then it would go file by file. And that was kind of a way you could do I guess, a defrag on the new disk. Because if you had a disk that had all kinds of data all over it, and it had written some and deleted some and written some and deleted some and written some and deleted some and so it could be kind of fragmented. And during the copy command, um, it didn't look at where things were. It just copied things one at a time and put them in a nice, efficient way. So that might tidy up some of the fragmentation on the disk. Anyway, this is now at Angel, no, Angelus.mus. It is copying. It is. So, what else do we have around here? Well, we have a Twitch tower. I'll need to get rid of that. Here, I'm just going to reach down here. This is a 64. I think I was using it to test things. I think. But somehow or another, I must have used it to help another machine that was missing the PLA, because there's no PLA chip in it. And where's the keyboard? I'm not sure. But this machine was made in Canada. It was. Ugh. Yep. Gotta tidy up. Got things to test and stuff. But really, right now, my focus should be and will be on the pets. They will be. I have. Did I get rid of that box? I had. Oh, it's up above. A really disgusting box from a Commodore 128. As well as, like here. Ugh. Here's a vintage piece of memorabilia, which is not in the best of shape. It's not. But it is the sleeve from a Commodore 64 that was sold in Canada. How do I know it was in Canada? Well, I think, oh yes, it has the French side. But both of them, on the end, have a picture of a Commodore 64 and a monitor that isn't one made by Commodore, and a dual disk drive that isn't a 1541. I think the printer is Commodore. Hang on. Yeah. Whoa. Well, I'm not just sure now. It wouldn't say candy. No, it says Commodore on it. And I thought it was a 1525. And it might be. But I'm not just sure. And of course, it shows something on here about customer data base. Customer data. The monitor, I think, might be a Comrex monitor, but I'm not sure. It has a data set. It has some tapes. It has a couple of discs. It has a fellow who looks like he's doing something. And, oh, it's funny, the dual disk drive here, it just says off to the side Commodore. Like it's had the other information removed from it. It has. Anyway, this sleeve is not in great shape. It has seen better days. It's been pieced together by not duct tape, masking tape. But I have, I believe, the original machine that was in this, so it's part of the history of the machine. So you know. Indeedy. Oh yeah, CPM option. What a joke. Even the 128 had CPM, but I would love to hear from somebody who used CPM on their 128 or got the cartridge for the 64 and actually used it. Anybody out there, let me know. I have not met any as of yet. What do we have here? Planning sheet. Gibberish. Can't make out any of it. Anyway, That's the sleeve. Oh, yeah. We are now coming along. It's on computer set 5, which on the directory is here, which means we have all this left to do. And I don't think we should necessarily sit here for the whole time and watch this go. I don't think so. Oh, I can tell you one thing. Maybe you've heard this if you've watched other things. The other night at the T-Pug Fix at night, I was trying to fix things. Didn't go well. Had a lot of things that, I was pressed quickly into service. I planned to do something, but anyway, it was chaos. Because I have not really used Zoom on a phone before. I had everything working. Something went terribly bad when I decided to turn the volume down on the phone that I had here so that people could see me here working on things. I also had a computer set up in the pet room. It was so close to being good. And then something went bad. Anyway, I didn't manage to actually fix anything, but I basically showed people the troubleshooting methods of one thing at a time. Also, check the things in sockets. Why? Because they're in sockets. And unsoldering things, it's not impossible, but it's a whole lot more. It just is. So check the things in sockets in case. And if there's not much in sockets, well, usually I set things aside in what I call a box, the intensive care units. Anyway, but we were able to do something. Now, usually, when I go at drive heads, I have some rubbing alcohol compound and some Q-tips. And that's what I use to clean the head. And the head on a 1541, as long as it's not one of the very early ones, is kind of easy to get to in that you open up the drive, you take off the top. There might be a shield to take off. There might, but basically, you'll see a little flappy thing. It's on the up side of the disc. The head is on the bottom side of the disc, and you look for a little white circle that has a line through it. That's the read-write head. And you can get microscopic dirt, microscopic stems that you can't even see that will keep it from working. You take the Q-tip, juice it up, and usually I kind of go across, but with a spinning pattern, round and round and round and round, maybe somewhere between, I don't know, 10 times. I don't usually count, just get across there and see, and give it a chance to dry, maybe 3-4 minutes, and then try another disc and see what happens. Anyway, we were able to get some guy's disk drive working remotely, although he was at the actual T-Pug meeting, and I was not. But it did seem, they did not have Q-tips, they did not have whatever, but they did have, and I don't know if they got it out of the first aid kit, an alcohol wipe, like you would put on a cut or something before you put a Band-Aid on. And I said, yeah, try that. And I said, take it, lift the thing gently, back and forth about 10 times, give it a chance. Then, of course, they had to hunt around to find a machine, like a 64 or a VIC-20, to see, whatever, and I guess a monitor and stuff. But anyway, in the end, it worked. By the way, when you're doing this, once in a while you'll see the lights flicker when it's starting a file, finishing a file, doing whatever. But generally, if the drives are working and everything is good, they should be pretty steady. I think there's going to be a little flicker on this soon. I think. But maybe not. Maybe not. What else? Okay. Also, having drives, etc., on top of the monitor is not necessarily the best thing. I have seen things where, depending on where somebody has their disk drive on the top of the monitor or the bottom of the monitor, things don't work. It's been a long time, and sometimes, generally speaking, you find if you move something a little bit, it might. I hear things. All of these things have fields about them, power supplies and things and such. And funny, one time when I worked at a place called Electronics 2001, there was somebody who sent their monitor off to Commodore to be fixed. When it came back, Commodore said, "Yep, it's all good, everything's fine." And then came back in a couple of days later and said, it's the same thing. Over here, at this side where um, the border and the rest of the screen are, there was some little something that they didn't like. And I suspect the people at Commodore just turned around and said, nothing wrong with this, send it back. So I said, oh, look at that. And it wasn't much of anything. But I did go to the adjustments, and I think it was a 1701, and tweaked the screen over a little bit or a little bigger or something or other, and that whatever line they were upset about went away, and they were pleased. Very pleased. Okay, we're down to Magic Sid Machine. Everything is going fine. Everything is going well. Anyway, so sometimes just a slight little adjustment on the adjustable switches, or not switches, yeah, switches, potentiometers can make a difference. And once again, it was funny because I looked at it and I was like, I don't see anything. And then they, oh, that's there. And I said, oh, yeah, that's the big issue. Yes. But anyway, and they were happy and they were pleased and they were dandy. And um, it's funny because I looked at the original kind of description and it said something about some line. And I hadn't been there when they had first brought it in to have a look at it. And off it went to Commodore. And Commodore probably turned it on, plugged in the 64, and said, fine. Mind you, it may have been, well, I think they would have hooked up. They would have hooked it up to something. I don't know. Anyway, they didn't bring their 64 in, so they hooked it up to ours. It was just the tiniest little tweak of an adjustment. Oh, let me stretch. Excuse me 1 second. Oh, I have this little tiny chair here, and it does leave me a little squished. There's not a whole. It's not. It's short. It's like an old kind of jeweler's chair. It's on wheels, and it makes noises. I have sprayed it. I think it's a little quieter than it used to be. I think, where are we up to? Magic Sid Machine. Now the beat goes on. So I wonder, is there anything else exciting? Well, I check this. Here we have a bus card 2. I think it's a bus card 2. It is. It's a bus card 2, which is the second version of the bus card, made by batteries included. And, oh, it's missing some feet. Oh dear. It should have 2 square feet and 2 round feet. And this is not actually a foot. It's where the foot should be. I guess that's the sticker part. Anyway, this was a magical thing in that it would allow you to use on your 64 your high-priced 4040, 8050, and other such drive, because there were a lot of people. Oh, excuse me. I'm going to stretch out again. Oh. There were a lot of people who had pets who said, yay, 64, got to get that. But they really weren't thrilled about having to pay a whole whack of money for a 1541, which was slower. So interfaces appeared. And even, I've only seen one, but I've never seen one in action. Commodore made an IEEE interface. But I don't think it was a big seller, and maybe it didn't even make it terribly onto the market. I don't know. But anyway, there were a couple around Toronto, a couple of places that made them around Toronto. Bus Guard 2 by Batteries Included was one. C-Link by Richfield Telecommunications was another, and there were others. And, oh, sorry, I'm stretching. Anyway, they were good, especially for people who ran, bulletin boards and other things. Very handy, very good, because, you know, the storage on a 4040, well, it was like 2 1541s, and the storage on an 8050 was essentially kind of like 6 1541s, and an 8250 would have been roughly the storage of 12 1541s. And of course, the 9090 or the 9060 hard drive, that held a lot more. 9090 was 7.5 savage megabytes. The 9060, 5 megabytes. Unheard of storage. Quite something. Anyway, I'm just glancing up here. And what do I see? Oh, a box of discs. I don't know what's on them. I think a bunch of them. Oh no, what's this? Turtle Graphics 2. How joyful. I will just stretch. Actually, this, I suppose, is something that is a good thing to do when copying a disc. Actually, the best thing to probably do when copying a disc is walk away. Because it's going to take a while. Unless there was a thing. Never saw it in action, but I do have OneDrive. There was some other thing. It had a cable. It had stuff that went inside the drive. And I think it was something called something like the 19-second copier. And it would copy an entire disc in something like 19 seconds. It's crazy. Never saw it in action, but heard of it. And that, wow. It just must have been like almost flying along with the head banging, almost like a like an automatic. Well, I play a little Call of Duty, and there's a gun in there called a Mac 10, and it just shoots really hard. It must have just been, the head must have been just flying. I can't imagine it could format the disc and do it all in 19 seconds. I suspect the disc had to be pre-formatted, I think. Oh, that's good to stretch. Just a moment. I will turn around. Let's see where we're at. Oh, we're getting there. We're into the P's. HBox 3. Now, the other thing you can do with this fine program is, see, I just said asterisk, so it copies them all. If there was only, say you just wanted to get, well, there's a thing here. Say that there's the thing called detonation, boot, and detonation. If you just wanted, or you just put in DET asterisk, and that would only show you those. I don't know. I don't think if you put in asterisk period MUS, if it would just find the music files. I don't think so. I really don't. But anyway, this is going well. It is. It is not the fastest, to be sure. But we're at Paintbox 3. And I don't hear any horrible noises from either drive. I just hear the usual head banging, not head banging, head shuffling as it goes from one track and sector to another track and sector and reads things in and copies things out and reads things in and copies things out. And it's all good. So when it's all done, we should have an exact copy. By the way, here, I'm going to look at something here. This is a cable. It is the cable that would go from a Commodore 64. And some people get confused by this. It's got an RCA connector. And people think, oh yeah, it's a composite thing, but it isn't. It's an RF modulator thing. This goes to the switch. The switch that would go on the back of a TV. Anyway, this has obviously been in the box for a very long time, because if you look, you can see it has been contaminated by styrofoam. And there is a kind of a sticky glaze over it. Now, does that mean the cable isn't going to work? No, it's going to be just fine. I don't think it's ever been used, or if it has been used, it's certainly been wrapped up like this for a very long time, and some of the stuff you can just kind of knock off. But the shiny glaze, I don't think so. But the styrofoam remnants come off, and I'm sure there's a way, using some mind-altering, DNA-altering cleaner to get this off, I think. But it isn't sticky. Anyway, I always like these cables. They have the RCA end on them is different. I'm going to try and get this up there. I've never seen that end on anything except the cables for the Commodore 64. Not that there aren't other things that have RCA ends. There's lots of them. But they don't have this round thing with kind of a knurled thing on the end. They just don't. And I don't know where they got them from. Maybe it was a company that said, oh, we made these things and nobody wants them. And Dr. Mill said, oh, cool. We'll take them off your hands. Who knows? You can pay us whatever to take them away. And then they said, right, we'll make cables out of those. I don't know. But anyway, whenever I see a cable, this, I'm going to hold this up again. These kinds of RCA jacks with this little, no holes around it, no whatever, no spacers, just these little kind of knurled things. I say, oh, that came from a Commodore 64. And generally, they're pretty long. I would bet, as I stretch this out, maybe 10 feet or more. Anyway, this one will go on the back of the door. It will. Well, let's see here. I'm going to reach over here. Oh, here is a Run magazine. When's it from? 1989. Health tips on your Commodore. Oh, I'm hearing some more noises here. Departments. For a while, when I'll have to get a list of the things, I did write for Run magazine. I did. Commodore Clinic by Lou Wallace. A lot of these names I've heard. Of course, Jim Butterfield wrote for everybody. He was not held. Arrow. Forgetting there. He was not. Oh, there's something by Jim Butterfield. A demonstration in multitasking. Making a computer seemingly to do two things at once. Imagine. I was privileged to know Jim and hang out with him from time to time. Let's see. This is something. Ron, the resident Jim Butterfield, is a renowned programmer, writer, and lecturer in the Commodore field. And there is indeed a program here. It's nice to see that they, well, no, they still, you know, magazines were always like, oh, we can't just print it as it came out of the printer. We have to have it typeset and do whatever. And that's when errors come in. So this is about a 2-page article. And it mentions important lines and things and stuff. And mentions what variables mean. What are we doing here? Santa poster. How are we doing? I believe the Santa poster was a rather humongous file. I needed a printer, I believe. Oh, yeah. So the program, multitask factors, goes from line 110 to line 710, numbered by tens. I suspect it didn't start that way. But that was the whole thing of way back when. We didn't, like, these phones, you can have all kinds of things going. And, you know, eventually there was multitasking all over the place. The Amiga was, of course, one of the first. But it was just unheard of to have things do things at the same time. For example, can a small computer do things at exactly the same time? No. But sometimes it can seem to be doing just that. For example, while it's waiting for input from the keyboard, it can be performing another task. That's exactly what happens in this article's basic program. Factors. As you enter a value, the computer has little to do except wait for you to type, so it spends the time calculating prime numbers. When you finish typing and press the return key, these primes will, will speed the job of calculating the numbers factors. That kind of activity, doing two things almost at once, is called multitasking, and actually happens all the time on your Commodore. For example, no matter what else the machine is doing, it also checks the keyboard, updates the clock 60 times per second, and it does this through an interrupt routine, which stops the program you're running, performs these special tasks, and then resumes the main job. If you think about it, you'll see that your program is slowed down a little by this activity. I will read more of this perhaps another time, but it reminds me one time when I was in Boston at a computer show. And I probably have told the story before, and there was a panel of us talking about things, and this fellow said he wanted to be able to have text come in over his modem and then immediately go to the printer. And people gave suggestions and talked about things, and anyway, finally, and I'm not sure who it was, it might have been Jim, said, you could set up a program to do that, like grab a character, print a character, back and forth, and you could probably get it that it would seem that it was doing that, but really it would be having to start and stop and grab and close and open and whatever, and it would basically fool you into thinking that it was doing what you wanted. And I remember the guy in the back who asked the question said, with great pride, he said, I am prepared to be fooled. In other words, he didn't care if it meant you had to open, grab a character, close, open the printer, print a character, close, and go back and forth and do it like that. He didn't care as long as it did what he wanted it to do. And he didn't care how it did it. That's just what he wanted. Out to the printer. Of course, there were times, and I remember one time I worked one summer at an advertising agency, and I got onto their terminal, which was just a print terminal, because I had to call the bulletin board to check on a thing. I'm not sure what it was or who or what or whatever. And of course, it would just print. And I didn't, it was a quick, check on a message, check on a word, cleaned up the paper, took the paper, whatever. And then, of course, a couple days later, I said, oh, you can't use, I said, I had to call home, and that is home. That's how I was. I think it might have been a message from my brother about my grandmother or do whatever. And I didn't have the print out there. But, one of the things in life is that, everybody wants to be heard and listened to. And when you're trying to explain something to some people, they obviously don't care or don't take the time to see the thing. They just think that they're right. And maybe they weren't. Now, I never went on to that thing again, but I didn't have to. There was in an emergency, I would have, and I would have said, by the way, had an emergency, here's the printout, because I had a little old grandmother at the time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I would have said, because, it's also best to be first. So before somebody comes and says, he was using that thing again, I would come and say, I had an emergency, and this is the only way I could get the message, or send the message, or receive the message, or, that's how, because there weren't cell phones back then. There weren't, like some people had answering machines. Can you imagine? No cell phones, no magic of, just instant text messaging. There were pagers, but that, I think there were pagers. There might have been pagers. Usually that was just for people who were expecting babies. The pager went off and they knew to head to the hospital. But there wasn't any messages to it. Santa poster is still copying. Oh my. Anyway, so, yeah, but there are times, when you're trying to say to somebody, like for example, I know of a situation where there was a video recording system for a whole big building. And it displayed on some of the monitors, it displayed in the office. And it would kind of rotate through them. But this did not mean it was actually recording. If the recording feature failed, then it would still keep displaying things, but it wasn't recording. And by law, it was supposed to be recording. So I know in this situation, there was a person who once a day perhaps twice a day, when it wouldn't interrupt anything or anybody, would go in, and all you had to do was look at in the very bottom corner of the two monitors. There was a little square. Maybe it was a rectangle. And if it said REC, it was recording. If it didn't say REC, then it all had to be reset. And whatever should have been recording, now I said a time or two, you should really have like an automatic thing that in the middle of the night at like 3:30 or 4 or whenever, that just powers down both computers, even if it's just as simple as an X10 module that literally, these things started from nothing. They were, in case of power failures, they would come back up. They would not be upset by a thing that would, at whatever time in the middle of the night when it didn't matter, turned it off for a minute, let it sit, and brought it back up. Anyway, but it's funny because I know that at some point this fellow was told, "Oh no, you shouldn't go in there." He said, "But this is like once or twice a month, it wouldn't be recording, and this would get it back sorted and fixed." The other thing, of course, is the reason it was good to go into this discreet room where there was nobody around and all, was because on occasion hard drives would start to fail, and you could hear it. It hadn't failed yet, but you could hear the noise was not right, and you could report this before something went bad. But anyway, of course, the people in charge didn't want to listen. Or no, maybe they wanted to, but they didn't want to hear it. They just were like, "Oh no, 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 no! It's on the monitor. It's fine. It's on the monitor. It's fine." So eventually, this fellow said, "Okay, that's fine. I won't go in there." And of course, there were many times that it stopped recording, and they would be like, "Oh my God, it stopped recording. Oh dear God, yeah, you mentioned that." And there were a couple times when the whole system was, or at least half the system was down for many weeks. Why? Because there was a hard drive failure, and when there's a hard drive failure and it actually fails, like fails, then they got to take the whole thing out and they got to redo it instead of saying, "Oh, okay," and they can copy things over and get things going, and it's very quick and it really doesn't affect anything. But of course, it was one of those things, and I know how it is in life, where they may have understood that the fellow who was just trying to be helpful understood what was going on, but they were biased against him, and so they just decided they would be objectionable. Can you imagine? Objectionable. And they were objectionable. But in the end, it only hurt them because, when something happened and then it hadn't been recording, or when they were, down for weeks and something happened, they said, "Yeah, well, half the system is not working and we don't have anything." Which really, there was a whole big case. Like some place was putting up fake cameras so that people would think that they were covered. And there was some court case about this because something was happening, and they kind of got the intruder or the offender or whatever to come without them knowing that they were getting to be where a camera was. Well, it was a fake camera. So you can't have fake cameras. If cameras are there, they got to work. And of course, what happens? Well, when things aren't recording, yeah, the cameras are working, but they're not recording, so you can't go back and look. And when the hard drive fails and screams and dies, or the fan, oh, here's another thing, if the fan in the machine goes bad, of course, the fan keeps the machine cool. And if the machine overheats, well, anyway. Okay, we're getting there. We're now at smoking. So we're almost done the disk copy. So as you see, this is not a quick procedure. This is really one of the best things you can do if you're copying a disk with copy all, because it never said it was fast. It was written by Jim Butterfield, by the way. And it was included with every Commodore 64. I wonder if they paid him anything. I would like to think they did. Anyway, it was very handy. Let me reach up here. Oh yeah. 1541s get warm. They always did. They always will. They have the power supply inside, these ones anyway. The 1541-2 has an external power supply, which probably means the whole drive runs cooler. But then, of course, external power supplies are easier to lose. Mind you, they're also easier to replace if they go bad. But I don't remember yet ever finding a 1541 with a power supply that went bad. I don't. And the power supplies inside aren't pretty. They're basically a transformer. But they don't have to be pretty. They're inside. There they are. What are we at? 10 on Magic 3. Oh, I need to stretch. Excuse me. Oh. Oh. Yes. And I think this was a somewhat full disc. So really, best thing to do is set it up to copy, turn off the monitor to save electricity, turn off the lights, maybe even go to bed. No, maybe not that. Maybe set a timer in the kitchen for about an hour and see what it is. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, look. It is an edition of a March 1976 Entertainment for Men magazine. A playmate returns to act her favorite fantasy, hot stuff. There seems to be somebody dressed in a fire uniform. Can you imagine? Let's see here. There are always funny articles and other things in here. Let's see. I'm at the joke section here. Let's see if there's anything I can possibly tell. Let's try this. In a strip poker parlor named Dante's, when a maiden had just lost her panties, she blushed, glanced around, and guess what she found? All the male players raising their antes. Ah. Um. Ugh. Let's see. Um. Let's see. No. I don't think I could read that. Well, here's one. The bed springs creaked noisily and then settled into silence. You're very good, you know, said the fellow after a breather. I wish I could say the same for you, yawned the girl. You could, came the reply, if you were as good as if you were as big a liar as I am. Ha 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 ha. Let's see. Aha! The handsome bridegroom went to court in an attempt to get his marriage annulled. On what grounds? Asked the presiding judge. And he said, I found out that her father doesn't have a license for his shotgun. Aha. What are we doing? Oh, we're done. We are done. Another input is ready. No. We have copied. Oh, this keyboard gotta be cleaned. We will load the directory from device 9. And we will see that indeed. Oh, let me load. Okay, 174 blocks free. I will load the directory from device 8. And I will find that it says 173 blocks free. Now, what does this mean? There's been an error? Not necessarily. Remember I mentioned that thing about it could help with defragging. There may have been something that was not stored as efficiently as it might have been. And this copy, in doing it over and over and over, over and over and over and over and over, it may have indeed sorted something out where something could be stored more efficiently. So I'm going to try one quick thing But I need to move along. This, I never, oh, yeah, this power supply. This is the good one. It's the one that came with this machine. It's fine. What I'm going to do, I'm loading this program from the original disk, and then, oh boy, the label on that disk, I think the drive has a way of getting warm. There's a label on this disk, which has been on here for some 40 years, is getting a little ready to come off. Probably because it's been hot in there. I don't want to lose that. Maybe I need to find a thing. Anyway, I'm going to type run, and up will come this thing. And I'm going to pick a song, but of course it needs to go through the directory and pick out a song. But I want to see if this disk, which is in here, which is written on this drive, can be read on this drive. Oh, I gotta stretch. Gotta stretch. Oh, I will come back around. Oh, gotta stretch. And then, oh, gotta stretch out my legs. And as I look over here, oh, I see it's done. That means I gotta turn around. Oh, and I think I'll pick E, and I'll press space. Oh, and I'll stretch. Oh. Alright, am I hearing nothing? Oh. There we go. Ho, ho, ho. Is it over? Oh, it's over. Okay. Well, and that is how. Oh, I'm on a cord. Don't ruin cords. Oh. So that is how you copy a disk using two 1541s and the test demo disk from Commodore. I'll just say this quickly because I'm tired too. Load the program to change the device number on one of the drives. With only that drive, or whichever, only one of the drives on, run it. Change it from 8 to 9. Turn on the other drive. Load in copy all, and you have one that is 8, one that is 9, and you can copy the disk. Now, if there are copy protection things won't work. But just for a regular disk or stuff, it should be fine. It also will help you find if there are errors, and there could be after all these years, there could be errors. But that is one way to find out. And at least you'll be able to rescue the things from the disk that you can, and maybe with repeated tries, maybe things that aren't reading will come through, maybe, possibly. Or you can try with some programs, sometimes try with a different drive or something to just try and get it to load it in and save it. That is another way. Anyway, all right. That's enough. I can't do no more right now. So thank you very much if you're still here. We'll meet again. Oh, bye for now.